Howdy folks, it's Meandering Mike in the Man Cave of Madness. It is the middle of the afternoon and we are doing an unboxing of a sort, in the sense that we're taking a look at this book here, but taking a look inside like we do our unboxings to a certain purpose, to examine and look at what's going on. Now the reason I'm doing this one, Age of Legends, this has to do with Greek mythology, the adventures of heroes and champions in this time of legends, Greek mythology. And it's because of the game that I'm working on that you may or may not know about, on the Greek mythological journeys of heroes such as Jason and the Argonauts, and Ulysses on the Odyssey, and labors of Hercules, etc. So in that vein, we are doing the examination of this item here. Now, this is a role-playing game supplement book. It is part of the 6D6 system. 6D6 RPG. Here is the core booklet. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. All right. So it says simple, fast, flexible role-playing. Now, I'm not going to look at this in too much detail, other than there's some of the information in here that's color-coded, and these colors here, now while they've got these characterizations of terms of the role-playing game, they're not actually meeting the categories that are actually the same in the role. That might not make sense to you, but it will later. Now, here's some example of an adventure, the Dungeon of Demon Strata. If we look here in the beginning of this, this is the Greek-centric view of the world, as we saw in my unboxing of Iaquinto's mythology. Obviously, it's a different stylization of the map, but the same idea. Greece being in the center of the world, the Mediterranean Ocean. This would be the Straits of Gibraltars. You got the Red Sea, the Persian Gulf, the Black Sea, and all around that's considered to be the quote-unquote the world ocean. Like, really, who knows what's really out there? But what I was going to show first is this page here, which is an overview of the 6D6 role-playing game, what they would call the core book. They have a modern, I guess you'd call that a source book or a campaign book or something. A bestiary, 100 monster bestiary, various adventures, Savage Island, Road to Petra. This is the one that I have, Demon Strata. Mince Pies and Murders. These ones here are futuristic for that modern setting. Let's see if we can get that. Quantum Flux, so obviously sci-fi. Outbreak, so I'm assuming that's like after the Holocaust, zombie times, etc. So that's an example of the stuff that they have in here. This book is broken down, discussing the mortals that the player characters would play, the immortals that are around them, that the context that actually affects their lives, they say Olympic legends, the gods or demigods, the titans, and a small mention of lesser mortals, the protagonists, so your character background and creation, but they have various paths that you can follow. So this could help me inform sort of my ideas in my game, that you might have certain characters that might help the heroes or the champions, that, everyone is important in some way. And, the sailors on the crew, or the laborer, hunters, etc. Maybe there's a philosopher on the journey or something, that there could be cards in the card game that could have an impact, some way to help advance you, get over, an impediment, a hazard or something. It's not all about, using your spear, javelin, sword, the strength of your biceps or whatnot. Sometimes you use your wit to solve things. So different characters can also, help in that. So I'm gonna look at this and mine that for some interesting ideas there. Then the antagonists, of course, are mostly monsters. Your typical, Sentai's, Chimera, Cyclops, Harpies, Gorgons, the Medusa being the most famous Gorgon, Minotaurs or Minotaurs, again, I'll take either pronunciation, nymphs, skeleton soldiers, etc. So again, what to put in the game or not, what to do, what have other games used, and so I can sort of look at this to see how they implement them or what they think is important and get ideas of, well, how would that work in the game in terms of, as a hazard, an impediment to the hero's journey, and what different methods they might use to overcome him. So I'm going to look at that in a little bit of detail, and I want to look at some of the art in this book. Now, lots of art. So this, you can see the back sort of, I don't want to call it a backsplash, but the background image that the text is over. Now, this isn't too hard to read because these are just lists, but I find overdoing that in the book. Let's see, like these to me, there's too much color, too much contrast. So especially here where you've got different color-coded words meaning different aspects in the game. Like the purple's like the path, the green is like your life attributes, blue is abilities. There's thing for two different kind of things for equipment that aren't shown here, but it a little too much of that. So something that I'm thinking about, like the artwork that I want to use for my game, as which to me is like the last level. I mean, you want good artwork and all that and a good design, but to me, the gameplay comes first, the functionality, and so I like the idea of having sort of this Greek stylized art, something that you would lift off of a Grecian urn, right? Or a fresco, a mosaic. So this book is loaded with those kind of examples, which is probably a cross between, this kind of. I've seen this a lot, like on urns. That it's like those must have been very common pigments or glazes that they could use in pottery or metal vessels that they would color somehow. But I don't want to do it to the extent that like it gets in the way of reading the card functionality, right? So card backs or sections of a card where you can have an image, yes, but I really don't want to have artwork that you have to read through and over. But it's interesting to look at. I mean, just some of the ideas of seeing like, well, who is this character, and etc. So let's look back at this map here, this world map. So it has various locations on it, which I want to some degree incorporate into my travel game. The idea is you're not necessarily traveling from point A to point B. You're going on a journey to a quest, a certain distance, and then whether you need to get there and succeed on the quest or get there and back. I haven't decided that part yet, but it's not necessarily going to be specific, like, travel from Delphi to Ephesus or something. This is you're on a quest. You're going to be racking up mileage, mileage points sort of on your journey, and a certain number of leagues or however you want to. There's some terms in ancient Greek for different measures of distance that I've been looking at that I'll probably use or modify a little bit, but I sort of want it to be somewhat abstract. But having some of these locations that show up again and again within the myths and legends of ancient Greek would be nice, I think, to mention those, to have things relevant or close to the areas that they're at. But the fact that you might one moment have had an encounter like around here, and then here's like you're traveling all over, you're getting clues, you're defeating beasts, whatever. You're on an overall quest that's not linearly spelled out. You must do A, B, C, D, like in a computer role-playing game. It's more abstract than that. So there are more detailed looks at. Let's see, where were those areas here? Was it in here? Sorry, I didn't get page numbers marked like I maybe should have. So here's like the world in context of our solar system, the planets, stars, the Titans. That's the worldview of the Greeks. What is there up in the sky? All right, so here they're talking about like the different areas and lands, Persia and other lands, Carthage, Egypt, etc. And yes, here's what I was looking for. So within a given area, looking at the relative position is, actually sort of makes sense. You've got the Red Sea, you got the Persian Gulf. Now this here is actually supposed to be Rhodes, which, the Anatolia Peninsula, sort of, comes out like this, but relative to, I think there was one where they actually showed the city. Yeah, here we go. Troy, Ephesus, Miletus, there's Rhodes. So as you'd encounter them on the coast, sort of the order of them, but it's certainly not laid out like this, because we know what the Anatolia Peninsula looks like. But in terms of like sailing around the coast and what you'd encounter, well, this makes sense. And overland over there's the Persian Gulf, and overland over there's the Red Sea. Like here, Persia looks, close to the edge of the world. Well, it's not really that, there's Anatolia, here's Judea, and here's, so this is almost like, well, past Persia, there's like India, but again, it's an abstraction based on a worldview, but it works, and somehow incorporating that, I really don't want to have a map as part of my game. It's not that level of a card game of actually tracking, again, physical position, but in some ways, like if you, maybe have an encounter in, one certain areas, certain other areas, like if you play one of those cards in an adjacent area, like it's easier to do, or you get a bonus or something. I want somehow can maybe connect these dots together of proximity, or if you're sailing in this part of the world, again a Rome Carthage thing, there might be a better chance to use or maybe keep a card. The ability to play maybe multiple cards in a game. Like, if you normally draw like one card and play one card, but if you can play, this card is a card that's relevant to location, it might list, one or two other adjacent areas, positions, that you might be able to go ahead and play one of those cards, and therefore play an extra card and then draw an extra card to replace it. So you can, as they say in like the Magic, they got card economy, good card economy. It's like, hey, I got getting a way to play extra stuff, do extra work. So that's part of my design process. Things just floating around in my head. It's at a very nebulous stage of the design right now. I don't know if some of you have heard, some of you not, that I'm sort of starting as a skeleton based off of the old game Milborns and stripping out all its dealing with, driving and cars and all that stuff and out of gas, puncture, but instead, having what are the hazards of the Greek world of mythology and what you do to overcome those. So, you don't have a spare tank of gas, you don't have a spare tire, you don't, go to the repair station to fix your accident, but you have other methods of solving problems and overcoming them in the world. So that's my design process right now, is from the simplest core, the idea of kind of a journey of Milborns, turning it into Greek mythological heroic journey. So moving on from that location stuff, which is I'll look at here and mine for ideas and say, well, what could I connect geographically without actually having a physical map, but get this sort of connectivity of this Greek-centric perspective. And then the other, well, I want to look at their description of the various immortals. Typically in this, you've got Poseidon doing naughty stuff, and Ares may be involved, and sometimes Zeus is the jealous one, or you have a subset. But I want to look through to see, is it possible to maybe have somewhere in there, in using multi-role cards that have different aspects that you can use them, gives you more opportunity to sneak certain elements in, to say, okay, in this section here, maybe we have something by Demeter, for example, or Dionysus. I really don't know much about the Titans at all. I probably don't think that would be, but there could be possibly, like some kind of safety cards where, you've got some hazard that's directly coming at a god, like, Neptune's doing something to you, and maybe some kind of appeal to a Titan, some kind of card where a Titan interferes somehow, or something. That there might be some kind of a wild card or something, maybe related to the Titans, but I'm thinking not. I think that's going up, adding too many players, so to speak, not actual players of the game. This is designed to be a two-player game, but two-player card game. But players in the sense of in the the milieu, the tableau of the gods, the pantheon, and down to demigods and monsters. But do we actually want to go up to the level of Titans? And my first thought is no, but maybe there's something that would work in okay. So I wanted to look at the antagonist section, where they have monsters, agents of the gods and the Titans, but certainly the monsters. Now, so I'd mentioned the color coding of the. All right, let's get to some examples. Here we go. Mooks. Mooks is their term for like minions, rabble, that other games that's like, individually weak, not very smart, certainly a challenge to the heroes if they're in large groups or mobs, but individually they're just like, cannon fodder, basically just chopping up, deal with them. So here's an example of a monster. The amphibian, 5-foot-long snake with the head at each end. So they've got this notion of the path, life attributes, abilities. So this is sort of the biology. How is this amphibian? It's a legendary predatory serpentine venomous monster. So, I mean, it's legendary, and it hunts and eats. It's a serpent, and it's venomous. Okay, now there's biological in there. Well, there's fangs, right, and neurotoxins. So this is the path that it serves in the world, in the minds of the Greek, that there's these creatures out there. This is its actual biology: speed, multi-headed, keen sense, etc., camouflage. And then this is the reflection of, well, what does this biology do for you in terms of combat or action, or overcoming, dealing with something. Oh goodness, that's a phone, which I'll turn off. And luckily, it did not knock me off. My rang on my watch first, and not on my phone, so I actually did not lose my video, which I often do. So sorry about that. But so it can ambush, pounce, reflex, scales, center. So scales to me would seem to be more a life thing, and so I'm not sure. But in terms of it's some kind of an armor thing. And these numbers, you roll these various numbers, a die and a bonuses, and you're either using skills, feats, movements, what the difficulty, what you're trying to accomplish, the number of points that it deals with. So again, I'm not sure why scales isn't in the life, the biology aspect, and that's more of an ability. I don't know. So like if you have a reflex tech, some kind of like deflection or absorption of damage to me would be the ability. Scales should be over here. So I don't know about that. But anyway, for my card game, any quote unquote combat that we have is going to be highly, highly abstracted. I don't even think there's going to be, dice or flip a coin or anything like that. I think it's going to be like, you need the right card that gives you a maneuver, or have to have the right weapon, or have to have a character of the right strength to address the issues. It's like, so, meeting, the Cyclops, you'd either use, I've got Hercules or some other famously strong dude, and I can have him oppose the Cyclops. Or no, you have to use ingenuity, and so you have a character, they take that stick with the point hardened in the fire and poke him in the eye and blind him, and that would be the level of, do you have the right kind of thing? Maybe each hazard monster that you meet might have 2 or 3 different ways to defeat it, and you cannot make progress past that monster without doing that. Or maybe there's a way, but it takes you more cards. So back to that card economy idea, is like, here, this one card can solve it. Otherwise you might need, I gotta save up 2 or 3 cards for a certain number of points to say, we've battled the monster, we've overcome it, we finally got it, figured out how to get around him. But it's like, wham, I've got the mirrored shield to reflect back Medusa's gaze at herself and turn her to stone. Boom, that's like an instant getting over the obstacle. Otherwise you if you don't have that, you end up taking more time. So in that competition between the players, who's trying to get to their journey point, succeed on their quest, and get back, it's like the more hazards you throw at them that they take longer to overcome, you're gaining more progress relative to them on your quest. So that's the notion of the game. So as far as these are, it's like mining for ideas. What is the way that the amphibian had been defeated or not? There's some kind of thing that can make a character immune to poison, or they have found some herb that's an antidote. Or do you somehow, because it's got 2 heads, do you get it bickering with itself and it bites itself? I mean, there's the whole notion of the Ouroboros, where the snake swelling its own tail. This is a 2-headed snake, so I don't know. So I need to read up on these characters, these animals, these antagonists. But this is helped. Which ones of these are interesting? What are some of these attributes? Will give me ideas for vicious dive attacking Aryan birds. So how do you maybe protect yourself? They had hard feathers that deflect blows. So oh goodness. You can't just shoot them with arrows or something. You need some special way to maybe defeat them. So the basilisk, yes, more getting turned to stone. Now, how the heck do you pronounce this? The African bull-like creature, the downward hanging gaze. So this has been in Dungeons and Dragons way back from the beginning. Cato or Cato? Catoblepus? Catoblepus? I know we've butchered it many different ways back in our days of playing Dungeons and Dragons, and I have no clue the right way to pronounce it. That's what I'm going to have to look up. Catoblepus? Catoblepus? Who knows? Catoblepus? If you know, and you can spell out a good, unambiguous pronunciation, please do so. And again, chimera, the Greek. So, this is my loan. soul of someone buried without the proper rites. Yes, alone has always been like a demonic spirit. Ethiopian dragon. Interesting. Ethiopian Pegasus. So, this is Age of Legends, part of the 66 core system. And we actually didn't get to, there's, some of the humans, like the mooks, they had stuff about their equipment, and there's like two different kinds. Like there's the yellow is their signature stuff. So like items of legend that, characters were famous for having, that were, sort of important to their story, where everything else is mundane equipment. So a dude might have armor, but unless he's got, like, say, that mirror shield, then we go, I've got a mirror shield that's going to save my life when I meet the Medusa or something. That mirror shield could be considered that signature equipment, whereas everything else they're pretty much carrying is mundane equipment. But, so that's the kind of stuff that I'll need to mine in here too, is, items, abilities, different characters that can help, using different traits and abilities to overcome hazards on their great Greek mythological journeys, their heroes' journeys. So we'll call it there. This is 26 minutes. I was hoping to keep this one to a 20-minuter, but so Meandering Mike in the Man Cave of Menace, we've looked at Age of Legends from the D66 role-playing game system, looking at this with an eye towards our currently Mythic Journey is the working title that we have it. There's too many companies and games and stuff that have the word mythic in them. I don't like mythological journeys, and I don't want to say the hero's journey, because then people think like, well, I'm not talking Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, even though that's based on all this literature and idea of, but we're dealing more with the nitty gritty mechanics of the journey, and not so much the tale of development and reluctance and overcoming that, and so maybe Mythic Journey, maybe something else, but who knows. Anyway, so if you're interested in more stuff on my game design for the card game, I do have a playlist out there that this video is in, and I've done a number of unboxings. I'm going to keep doing these. I'm gonna try to have my basic prototype done by the end of the month. I certainly won't get this game finished. This is part of a card game challenge that Hissy Cat Studio is putting on. So I'm gonna try to make as much progress as I can by the end of the month, but I certainly won't be finished. But this has been good impetus to keep going on this and keep looking at these different aspects. And I found my own Millboards game and pulling that out, and I'm gonna basically strip it down and put those in sleeves and add sticky notes over them to, like, well, what would this be? Just something in the equivalent, and just start with the most basic stuff and go from there. And then somewhere I have to look through, I've got blank card decks, which have no, they've got backs but no faces on them that you can write on with, Sharpies or whatnot. So I need to find those and actually start making some, attempt at some real stats and things. Again, artwork, I'll have stick figures or something, at the start. And the other stuff will come later. So anyway, thank you for listening. If you got here to the end, it's much appreciated your interest in this project and the channel. And, please, if you're not subscribed, please do. It really helps. And like and leave a comment. And just a note that some people, I post haphazardly, during the week, sometimes 2, sometimes as many as 6 videos. There's once I did 9, but some people don't like getting that many notifications. And if you're interested in my comment in general, but you don't want to get so many notifications, don't unsubscribe. Just change the notifications. You can turn them off, or you can set it to custom where you'll get less. Now, If you like the game giveaways that I do, and I will do one in October, it'll probably be miniatures based, but maybe I'll also give something else away too. You know, you want to leave the notifications on. We had a couple of people that didn't claim their prizes from the last time because they never got their notifications or whatever, and I got an alternate giveaway, etc. But yeah, it's kind of leave your notifications on unless you're too pestered by them. Then go ahead and you can turn them off or lessen them. But you know, you can stay subscribed and still reduce those notifications if you need to do that. If you're too pestered by too many notifications. So 30 minutes. Meandering Mike. Meandering. Okay. Everyone out there, take care and ciao. And be heroic in your journey through life.